There's a wide range of what a play party is or can be, and I was fortunate to land in some very intentional ones which focused consent and education around consent. And I had to start from zero and come up to speed and learn how to have these conversations, learn how to do repair, how to show up for repair. And so the play party scene for me, in addition to being really fun, is also a place where I learned so much and got to expand my growth edges a lot.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 418. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a great conversation with Matt. He was introduced to the concept of open relating when he first moved to the Bay Area around 2009. Over the last 15 years or so, Matt has explored many different relationship styles, and today he's really excited about exploring the ways play parties and community are able to meet a lot of the relationship needs he has.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about this conversation, actually one of the many things I love about this conversation with Matt, is that he isn't shy about the fact that he's a real-life human who's trying to figure it out and learning just like the rest of us. This is such a relatable conversation, and I also love Matt's passion for learning and growing while in community, surrounded by the love and support of others. No secret to anybody listening, we're huge fans of community. And as you'll hear, Matt found his way into the world of non-monogamy through community, and now his work focuses on bringing people together through events and workshops. Matt talks about his work today throughout the interview, and if you'd like to learn more, you can find all the details over on his website, which you can find linked in the podcast show notes, along with links to all of the resources Matt mentions today. You can also find our show notes over on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the podcast tab, where you'll see links to all the resources for today's episode, as well as all of our episodes in the past.
For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we're going to jump into the interview with Matt now. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements. First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front, but don't worry, you still get dates of upcoming events in the outro. To sign up for the premium subscription for only $4 a month, go over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage. And next up
is one of those important events that you were just talking about.
Yes.
Virtual speed friending is back. If you're not familiar with virtual speed friending, we've been hosting these events for years. We use Zoom to bring people together. Then we will do like quick intros. Then we'll put you in a breakout room with a smaller group of people. We'll ask a fun question to get you thinking and talking. You'll talk about that question for about 6 to 8 minutes. Then we're going to scramble the rooms, ask a new question, and we'll do it over and over for about 2 hours. These are a great way to meet like-minded people from around the world in a low-pressure and fun environment. And you can find out more information and sign up by clicking on the banner at the top of our website, again, over at normalizingnonmonogamy.com or in the podcast show notes. And the thing you've all been waiting for, the date.
I was going to say,
you didn't think I was ever going to tell them the date, did you?
No, I did not.
It's November 21st, so that is coming up next week. You've still got time to sign up, and we'd love to see you there.
Yes, next Friday. Come out and join us. We'd love to have you. Next up, we wanted to remind all of you, if you've listened to the last few weeks' episodes, you've heard us talking about our exciting new event coming up next May, 1st to the 3rd, 2026, called Relationship Recess.
That's an in-person event.
It is.
No virtual stuff here.
It is. It is in person, and it's going to be outside Orlando, Florida. We're partnering with the team from Polyamory and a friend of ours named Gary, who's a strategic play consultant, and we're going to have a super fun weekend together.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come join us. You can find out more information pretty much anywhere you land on our website. There'll be a pop-up in your face.
You're going to see it.
Or you can click on the events tab and there's a link right there. We would love to have you grab your tickets and come join us.
You can also watch a little promo video that we all did.
There's all sorts of stuff all over our website. We're pretty excited about this and we hope you are as well. So with that, we will send you off to go sign up for Relationship Recess. But we also have a
A couple more
a
things.
couple more announcements. I faked you out.
We wanted to remind all of you that we do lead a community full of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every day. We host the community on a platform called Mighty Networks. We have monthly community support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events as well, all for less than $8 a month. Our next monthly workshop is coming up tomorrow. That's going to be November 13th, 2025, and is called How to Choose a Pleasure-Based Life with Crystal Baldwin. We'd love to have you join us tomorrow, but if you happen to miss the workshop, don't worry. Recordings of all past workshops are available for our community members. It only takes less than 10 minutes to apply for our community, and you can find all of the information under the community tab of our website.
And maybe just a quick review because we just threw a whole lot at you. Next Friday, November 21st, our virtual speed friending is back, and that is open to anybody who is open-minded and respectful. Our relationship recess is coming up May 1st to the 3rd, 2026. That is also open to anybody who is open-minded and respectful. You can find out more information on our website.
And that's also an in-person event.
That's an in-person event. And we have a virtual workshop coming up tomorrow, November 13th. That is for our paid community, which you can find out more information on how to join over under the community tab of our website for less than $8 a month.
Good job.
Good job on the recap.
And finally, we wanted to remind all of you our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is called stdcheck.com. You hear us talk about it all of the time. It is the service that Finn and I use. We've been using it for years. We highly recommend you check it out using the links over.
STD, check it out.
Good job.
Nailed it.
Using the links over on the resources tab of our website saves you $10, making a 10-panel test only $129, and you support the podcast in the meantime. So thank you so much for doing so.
And for real last this time, we just wanted to remind you all that we would love to hear from you. Please send us an email if you have any questions or comments or feedback about the podcast, or better yet, you would love to come on and share your story. You don't have to be a content creator or a coach or any of the things that Matt is crushing out there in life to come on and share your story. You just have to be you, and we would love to talk to you and share your story. So again, send us an email. You can find that information under the Contact Us tab of our website.
And with that, let's go and talk with Matt. Welcome to the podcast, Matt. We're excited to dive in today. Thank you so much for taking time on your Sunday to chat. Yeah, we'd love for you to start by just introducing yourself.
Thank you so much for having me on. I am super excited to be here. So my name is Matt Sturm. I am a sex educator. I work as a somatic therapist. I do men's work and psychedelic-assisted therapy, a bunch of things kind of in the healing and spiritual awakening space. And I'm excited to come on today to talk about play parties and sex-positive spaces. And it's been a really big part of my life for the last decade. And I'm in more of an organizer position now. And there's some things that happen at play spaces which feel really special, particularly in the context of non-monogamy.
Cool.
Yeah, we're super excited to dig in. And yeah, we met you not necessarily at a play party, but we met you at Soul Play, which is lots of play happens there. But well, I wouldn't say mostly platonic, but platonic-ish. It's platonic adjacent. And yeah, it was a great to be on sort of the educator team with you or the presenter team with you and get to know you over the week. So we're excited to dig into your story more and share more of your work today.
Great. Thank you. Let's go.
Let's do it. Well, maybe take us back. I'm just curious, maybe then your first play party. When did your first play party happen?
Okay. So I was thinking back, I believe it was 2011 in San Francisco. So I was dating a woman. She had a primary partner. I was a secondary partner. And somehow she got connected. There used to be at the Armory in San Francisco, kink.com used to have this massive complex where they would film all of their material out of. So occasionally they would throw these play parties on the top floor. And the top floor was decked out in like just decadence. There's like a baby grand piano and chandeliers and like a bearskin rug. It was completely over the top. So I was like 27, 28. And the person I was dating, she and her primary partner kind of invited me along. And I had never been to anything like this and showed up. I was just like, wow, what is this place? What is going on here? who are these people? And I absolutely dove right in. I got to play with the person I was dating together with her partner. It was our first time, the three of us playing together. And that was a really positive experience. My name's Matt. His name is also Matt. So it's kind of a funny thing. But then I like cut myself loose and I ended up getting tied up and suspended and flogged for the first time in my life. And I got to be a witness to two trans people having sex, which just completely blew my mind. Like I had no framework to understand the gender dynamics or any of that. And I was just like, wow, this is great. I'm into it. I never knew this existed, but I like it. I'm into it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And oh man, I have so many questions, but I'd love to. Can we take a step back real quick and see, when did non-monogamy enter your life? Because it sounds like
Great.
that was before then, right?
hmm So it was like 2 years before that. I moved to San Francisco. And when I got here and started connecting with community here, I was like, whoa, people are doing open relationships and polyamory. I didn't even know that this was a possibility. And I feel like I've been loving everybody from this place of like open heartedness and fun naturally, but I never had like a framework or agreements or language to put to it. And as soon as I stepped into community, it was like, oh, it just felt so naturally me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you hadn't necessarily had the framework, it sounds like, before that, but it sounds like that was sort of a natural way of loving and being in connection with people.
It feels like a core way of how I connect. Yes.
Yeah.
And then like not only the skills, but also having community around it, like other people who are practicing it too, just makes such a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm curious, and in the sort of, we'll say the 2-ish years between landing in San Francisco and winding up at the top floor of the Armory, which by the way, for anybody who's already stopped listening and is Googling, unfortunately, kink.com no longer owns the Armory. But we can attest that top floor is a wild place to be. We did the tour there
Yes, we
quite
did
a
not
few
get to
years
go to
ago.
a party
Yeah,
there, but we
yeah.
did the tour,
Yeah.
which, yeah.
That's
My
amazing.
biggest thing I remember from that top floor was these giant like tables that you would see in, like, I would say like a horror movie, but also like an elegant horror movie, right?
Yeah,
But then in the middle there was like a cutout where people would like put their heads up through it, and then they would sort of lock them into the table, so they would be like part of like the centerpiece during the meal. And I was just like, whoa, all right, what is going
Yep,
on here? So
totally.
Kink.com.
kink.com knows how to party. That's what we
They sure do.
So all right, so you've got about 2 years in SF figuring out how to relate before winding up at a play party. I'm curious what that was like for you, landing in a place where other people seem to be doing relationships the way that felt like the way you do them.
Yeah, absolutely. My entry in is I connected with a friend who is my roommate today. We're still like, and we're in the same men's group. So, however many years later, 15 years later, we're still very tight. He became my poly mentor. He was like 15 years older than me and had been in the scene and the lifestyle for a while. And so I was just like, I need help. I made all the mistakes. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was super excited about it. And so I got connected with a couple of different communities. At that time, I was still deeply in my raver phase. So a couple of different electronic dance communities. And they'd have parties and campouts and things. And there was open relationship kind of interwoven throughout those communities. And so this guy, Buddy Dave, I would just like, we'd play ping pong or we'd go for a walk and talk. And I'd be like, okay, so I'm dating this one person and I'm having this issue. Can you, and he'd be like, yeah, let me help you. And I would have made a lot more pain for myself and for others without the support of friends like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And where had you moved from, for context?
Oh, well, I grew up in Denver, but then I went to grad school in Paris. So when I came to San Francisco, I had just spent a year and a half living in Paris, which was a phenomenal experience, but culturally completely different from
Yeah.
the West Coast over here. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Wow. You're changing a lot there, going and great experiences, I'm sure, but like very different energy, different experiences, different cultures. So you get all of this information and help from Dave, which is great. And I love that you had help. Because I mean, we don't we aren't taught how to relate in these ways, even though it can actually feel really natural to many people, but we aren't necessarily taught it.
That's right. And I didn't grow up around people who were doing it. And so it wasn't the framework that I had for relationship. One of the things that I loved is that it required me to honestly speak my desires and to not kind of just go along because the structure of the relationship demanded a certain thing. But then I had to come up to speed on all these communication skills. And I really can't stress it enough. Like, I'm still learning so much, but back then I was a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. But we know how that goes. Yeah.
Right. Totally.
Well, and it sounds like you even found like you threw out the men's group that you were in, and I would love if you could maybe weave that in here too, because that is, I mean, that's been some of my own work too that I've learned. I was very resistant to it for a long time, thinking nobody wants that, nobody needs that, and now that I've been doing it for the last four or so years, it's like, how did I ever function without these groups, without support of other men and being able to communicate and share in this way? So that's been a mind-blowing piece for me, and I'm glad you dropped that in here.
Oh, cool. Completely. So you don't know this, but you're touching on a whole other deep thread in my world.
Okay, we've just opened up. I feel like we opened up like 3 giant chasms, and we're like, all right, let's play in all of them.
Non-monogamy play parties, men's groups, all of this.
Yeah. So I had a girlfriend a little bit after, like a year after the experience at the armory. I was in like a committed relationship that was an open relationship. And again, I was like, messy and making mistakes and poor communication. And she was like, you need to go to therapy and you need to join a men's group. And I was like, no. But then she was really insistent. And then I got into therapy and I was like, oh. And I got into a men's group and I was like, yes, this is great. And I'm still in the same men's group. I joined that men's group in 2012. I'm still in that same one today. But since then, I have started leading men's groups. I've done a bunch of men's retreats. I've connected with different men's organizations. And I now have 2 published books on the topic of masculinity. So this is like a major focus of my life. Yeah.
I love it. We've uncovered a whole bunch right here in like the first 10 minutes. And now
right?
I feel like now we get to weave it all together for the next little while,
Great.
which is so great. Yeah. So all right. So we've got landed in San Francisco, had a couple of years of non-monogamy, jumped into play parties, got men's group under your belt now. But I'm curious, like in this sort of early days, these early couple of years, is there other pieces that stick out to you as like impactful pieces of the new to non-monogamy, new to play parties experience for you?
Another very formative piece in my journey was in 2013. I was traveling. I took a break from work and I was traveling through Asia doing volunteer work. And I was with the partner who asked me to go to therapy and join a men's group. She and I went traveling. We ended up at a Tantra retreat in Thailand. And I didn't know anything about it. But we had some other friends who were like, hey, we're going to be at this thing. Do you want to come? And we were like, sure. And we were in, I would say, like romantic and sexual crisis at that moment. We were missing each other. We didn't know how to get on the same page. And it was a struggle. And then we showed up at this retreat, and here's all of these tools talking about how to invest in your sexual connection and sexual sovereignty in yourself, and a whole community of people who were like doing these practices and sharing about it. And it was, for me, the light just turned on. And my conditioning around from being raised Catholic and in a pretty conservative family, like that started to just like fall away. And I was like, oh, sexuality is sacred. And there's a spiritual path outside of patriarchy and the church, which feels connected to me and which makes sense. And it shifted the dynamic in that partnership at the time, but it also shifted my connection with my own body and my own eroticism. And then like layers of shame started to come up, and I was like hooked. I started drinking from the fire hose, and this is like got me on the path to being a sex educator where I am today.
Yeah, sounds like that 2010 to 2013 timeframe was like your whole world flipped upside down, inside out, and
Yeah.
and
hmm
came apart in
Mhm.
many ways.
I've been through a couple of those, but that was right around 30 was when I was 2013. So Saturn returns, if you're into astrology, is like a big shift. And I didn't know what Saturn returns was at that moment, but I was in it. It was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does it kind of go from there?
So from there, I spent a year traveling through Asia, and then I came back to San Francisco, and I was like, I can't wait to find the Tantra communities to be a part of, because surely in San Francisco, you can find anything in the Bay Area. And I went to a couple of other tantric events, and I would properly say that all of this that we're doing is neo tantra, just to
Yeah.
like take a step away from the cultural aspect of it. So I went to a couple of other people's events, and I was like, no, this isn't what I learned over there. It's not quite the right flavor. And so I just started teaching workshops to my friends, because I was like, everybody needs to know about this. It's changing my life. People should be, and I want to build community around it. And I started going to other trainings and learning about sacred sexuality. And over the next couple of years, like me leading workshops for my friends turned into an organization called Ritual Tantra. And we did events for 4 years in the Bay Area. Thousands of people came through our workshops. We led retreats. And so I had like still a corporate job on the side, like the corporate job. But at a certain point, that got big enough that I was able to support myself doing events as a sex educator. And I did somatic therapy. I studied Hakomi also, and a bunch of other modalities just started to all come together for me. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and throughout all of this, right? I imagine you're also doing your own personal, like exploring relationships, maybe still going to play parties, figuring out the we'll say the practical tools, right? Because there's I don't know, for myself, I've learned that, right, I can go to these workshops and I learn it, and it's really great practice, and then I take it out into the real world for myself, and I'm
Mhm.
like still clunking around in there. It's not necessarily as it's not always as easy as it is on the practice court for me.
Same. I totally agree. And for me, along the way, I had some very beautiful, very deep, committed relationships. There were open relationships. I had moments of being more single or solo poly and dating around. And I feel like when I was in my late 20s, there was this decision that I made at a certain point that was like, all right, I'm going to live my sexual life. I do not want to be 80 years old on my deathbed being like, oh, I wish I had done this thing or this thing or this thing. I was like, now is the time. I'm doing it. And what I found with regards to play parties as a participant is where I started is it was a space where all of those things that I wanted to try out, it was a safe space to get to do that as opposed to like going to a bar and trying to pick people up or, it's like there's a level of intentionality where everybody agrees that we're here for this reason. And we're all held with shared agreements in a container so that we can safely explore together. And I got to have threesomes and foursomes and group sex experiences and connect with men and connect with people of all genders and like all the different things. I was like, I want to try all of it. And so that gave me the playground really to get to do it.
Yeah. I love that, and I love when I heard you say, like, in a safe space to do that. I feel like that has, like, I don't know, I hear that as multifaceted, right? It's safe for you, right, to make sure you're keeping your own personal self safe. But I think I don't know, for me, it also expands out to how do I do this without like laying a path of waste and destruction as I'm moving through? Because, right, these other people are also probably on that same journey. Like, how do I do this in a way that feels good and I can explore myself? And like, this is a part that for me has been hard of how do I explore this without hurting a bunch of people and like I said, like laying destruction behind me.
I feel very resonant with that concern. It's something that I still sit with today. How do I be my sexual self in the world? And one of the nice things in a play party environment is I know that everybody's showing up there with the intention to explore eroticism. And if I'm, at a bar or some other social context and I bring my sexuality in, the other person maybe hasn't consented to have that type of exchange with me. And so, like, that's the first piece. The second piece is, you know, there's a wide range of what a play party is or can be. And I was fortunate to land in some very intentional ones which focused consent and education around consent. And I had to start from zero and come up to speed and learn how to have these conversations, learn how to do repair, how to show up for repair. And so, like, the play party scene for me, in addition to being really fun, is also a place where I learned so much and got to expand my growth edges a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm curious kind of what we talked a little bit about your first play party. How did that evolve over time?
So that first one was kind of a one-off, and I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." And now I know it's out there. But then, like, where do I go from here? Because I only got like secondhand invited to it. And then, like I said, I went and I traveled to Asia for a year. But when I came back, my entry point was more through the neo-tantric communities.
Yeah.
So there were snuggle parties and pujas. We used to call them pujas. They're now just more like ceremonies. So that became a big part of my world. And then there are a couple of intentional communities that just through friends of friends I started getting connected to, where there's like a bit of a vetting process to get in. But then once you're in, you become a member and they have regular events. And then there's community and tribe there. And so San Francisco, like the Bay Area, has a beautiful scene to be able to find different flavors of how people are engaging. And so I connected with 3 different play party communities. I was just into it. And there's an open relationship community potluck. I don't know if it's still going, but 10 years ago, I was helping organize it for a while and I was hosting them. It was my passion. And so I found all the different ways to plug in. Slowly over time, I'm going to talk about my roommate Dave again. So I was living with Dave and he was in some of these communities and we were like, let's pull some of our favorite people together and host one at our house. And so we called it Revel and we had maybe 10 people over and it was great. And then we did another one and another one and another one. And the next thing we know, we've done like 7 or 8 of these like small 10, 12 people, sexy gatherings from hand selected people. And as we're doing that, we're learning and we're making the mistakes and we're growing culture and creating this system to hold the experience that we want. So again, it felt like a very organic place, like from my passion, that the capacity to hold these kinds of spaces kind of came into my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that sort of, I don't know, the learning. I don't know what the thought I'm trying to convey here is like the learning as you go. Cause I think for myself, it can be easy to say, well, I'm not qualified. I haven't achieved some level of mastery,
Yeah.
so I can't necessarily do this. But like stepping back and realizing that like we're even 10 years later, and for us similar, we've been in non-monogamy for 20 years and we're still learning today. Like, so to
Mm-hmm.
think we're ever going to achieve the right level of mastery to do something. And I just love that you kind of jumped in. You're like, okay, let's see what happens when we put our own spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's, benefit in connecting and seeing how other people are doing it and connecting with what's already out there. And there's a lot of benefit in having, I'll say for me, not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when I lead these, I lead them with a partner or a buddy. And so we get to like point out each other's blind spots and support each other. And it just creates a bigger, richer field where it's not all on one person's shoulders. And then having an accountability network, like a men's group, is one of my main accountability networks where afterwards or beforehand, I can go and I'd be like, so this happened and I need some outside eyes to help me see what's here and to talk through it. And that is immensely valuable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you brought the men's group back in because I'm curious maybe a little bit more about this piece because I know I know what my men's groups have been like, the ones that I would say primarily led have looked like, but
Mm,
I imagine there's some people who hear us talking about men's groups and they hear manosphere and all of the like
right.
toxic, some of the, we'll say the toxic masculinity that floats around in the internet and can be pretty vile. And I'm just curious
Hmm.
what your men's groups looked like and how were you able to show up there with non-monogamy in tow? Like, was that welcome and invited in?
This is a great question. So yeah, there's, just like there's a range in what constitutes a play party, there's a range in what a men's group can look like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I was really fortunate to land with some great ones. So it's the one that I've been with for the longest, since 2012, that I'm still active with right now. It's all peer led. So there's no person who we're paying to organize it. It's just a group of guys. We meet twice a month. We rotate facilitators.
Hmm.
So there's 7 of us. So every seventh time, it's my turn to bring something. And each person, when it's their turn, gets to bring a topic or an activity or something to engage in that is relevant for them and that they think would be juicy for the group. And so sometimes, let's see, with regards to non-monogamy, we have check-ins, or we'll have like a topic around partnership, and commitment is a great, like, talking about commitment as a group of men is such a great topic. And so that'll be one of the topics. If it's alive for one of us, we can bring in something like that. And then along the way, like with each meeting, we each give a little check in around here's what's relevant. So we're staying current with each other. And then one of the things that has been most valuable for me is like in the moment where I'm going through a breakup, or in the moment where I lost a job, or I'm in some type of crisis in some way. Here's a group of guys who I've been meeting with for years and they know me well. And we can take the meeting and whoever this is can say, hey, I need like extra support. And then here's that net, that safety net to help support. And that's been so immensely valuable for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And to have, I'm guessing in yours, similar to ours, sometimes, sometimes it's, hey, no, you were good. Like what I heard you
Hmm.
explain, like that feels like, feels good. Or, oh, hey, man, maybe this stuck out to me like that. I could see how that was a little bit shitty. And like to have other guys that for years have had your back and that they're not trying to call you out. They're not trying to put you down. They're truly there saying, "Hey, like this doesn't seem like the Matt I know, or this
Right.
doesn't seem like it would feel great if I was on there." Like to have that from people who really have your best interests.
Completely. So, one of the things that you're speaking to is that so often in the outside world, men engage with each other through the lens of competition.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Either in the workplace or in sports, we're competing with each other. And here's a space which is totally different, where we get to be in brotherhood, where we get to be supportive, we get to be allies and peers with each other. And it's so refreshing. And when I meet someone else who's been through that, I can tell, like another guy, I can tell pretty much immediately by the way that he greets me, and we might shake hands or something. I'm like, oh, this guy gets the brotherhood codes. He's got that. So that has been immensely valuable for me. And then I'll also say, on the topic of sexuality, having a safe space of, just a peer group of men to talk about what's happening sexually for us is so incredibly important. And so many people don't have it. It's not baked into how we do culture. It's huge. So that's another really valuable piece.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Well, first of all, I will say Emma gets the credit for the men's groups that we started because she started the women's group.
Yes, I was
And
pushing for it.
and I was and
Uh-huh.
she's like, "You wanna start this men's group?" And I was like, "No, nobody wants it, nobody wants it." And I finally was like, "Okay, fine, we'll do it."
After
And
I pushed long enough.
after you push long enough, and from that moment, and this is no shade on the women's group, but the men's group has consistently had a larger turnout for the last 4 or 5 years from day one. And similarly, the other thing that, like, landed for me was I was very resistant for probably a year and a half to bringing the topic of sex to the men's group because I didn't want it to be like the stereotype. And
Mhm.
and one day, and I was finally like, okay, let's do it. It was like the best conversation we've ever had in the men's group. And it was
Yes.
so vulnerable. People were talking like, oh shit, I didn't know you had experienced that. Oh, and because it, you know, I translate from, experiences at the bar or where like these places where you're talking about of competition, where it's not, nobody's really being vulnerable and saying, oh yeah, no,
Right.
yeah, I struggle to perform. I struggle with this. I want this, but my partner wants that. And I don't know how to, and the amount of vulnerability that showed up, I was like, oh shit, this is real. There's a
Yeah.
giant void here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, one of my avenues into men's work was I had this passion for Tantra and sacred sexuality. And I had been really doing my own like inner laboratory work on non ejaculatory orgasm and working with my energy pathways. And so several years ago, I started leading some workshops around like energetic sexual practice for men.
Mhm.
And I love sharing about these. It's in one of my books now. I've written a whole like progression for how to learn how to have orgasm after orgasm without ejaculation as a man. And just starting that conversation with men is one of my favorite conversations because it opens up new possibilities than what we see or are told is available to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it flips the script on its head.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to hear it firsthand, right? Because it's, I think that was what I saw the power, and that's what I have experienced being the power in these men groups is you can read it in a book somewhere, but when you have 5 or 6 other guys sitting there and looking you in the eyes, being like, "No, me too," you're like, "Oh, okay, it is all of us." Like, or most of us,
Right.
we've all
Totally.
experienced something like this. I'm actually not alone.
Right. I'm not alone. I don't need to be isolated or feel shame around this. It's a very healing and connecting experience.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Just really quick on this, Matt. I'm curious for anybody out there who's like, okay, well, great. Where the hell do I find these?
Yeah. Where
What?
do I
Mhm.
start?
Yeah, when you're recommending people to like for resources to find men's group or men's support, do you have a couple that you'd steer people towards?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some larger organizations that you can find just about anywhere, like the Mankind Project or Sacred Sons. And Sacred Sons is deeply influenced by the Mankind Project. Both of those organizations trace their roots back to the mythopoetic movement, men's movement in the early 90s. They do great work. Um, they have their pluses and their minuses, but I've been pretty deeply engaged with the Mankind Project for a number of years, and so they're great.
Yeah,
Outside of that, talking because I'm trained as a somatic therapist, it's like talking to other therapists or therapist networks about oftentimes there'll be like a guy who does some type of coaching or healing work and he'll start a men's group
mhm,
in a local area. And so asking therapists or coaches about men's groups can be a great way to find kind of like the grassroots smaller ones. And your results may vary about the quality or depth or anything, but there's like here in the Bay Area, there's some really phenomenal small men's groups out there.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, I love those. I've heard really good things about the Mankind Project as well, and so
Hmm.
happy to hear that. And yeah, I would encourage anyone listening to like look into this, and also when you're doing it, if you're in a group that just doesn't feel right, it's okay to leave,
Yeah.
right? Like
Listen to that.
find a
Hmm.
different one, keep looking around, right? And I would say these shouldn't feel like pickup artist classes, and like it's not about how to get laid more. It's like, so if you're feeling a lot of that, I would say maybe keep looking a little bit, but that's my own 2 cents.
Right. I agree with that. Fully on board with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd love to bring in a little bit about your relational history. I know it's looked different ways over the years, and I'm curious kind of where are you today and how you operate in a relational way?
Okay. This is a great question. And I want to, because it's been a fascinating journey for me. Somewhere around 2019, 2020, so I'm still tracing the history. I was in a relationship. It started off as open. And then we went deep, and like I fell in love with this woman like hard. And something opened for me differently where I realized we were talking about getting married. I was like, oh, I want to be monogamous with this person. I went through this identity crisis because I had been like, like I said, I was like in the play party scene and teaching workshops and all the things. And then I was like, oh shit, I actually want to be monogamous with this person. Like, what the fuck? Ouch. Like, it hurt me. It hurt her. She was like, who are you? We did therapy for a few months to try to like figure it out. And then she was like, committed to being open. And I changed my mind and changed what I wanted for the relationship. And so we ended up parting ways. And that's still something that I'm trying to wrap my mind around. But a lot of what was happening for me in that moment is I was learning more about attachment theory. And I was seeing the ways that my own behavior and also to a certain extent my partner's behavior, that us connecting with other people was giving us an easy out to avoid some things in our relationship. And that I wasn't going as deep as I was now starting to see as I could and ultimately that I wanted because of the lifestyle I was living. And so the way that I was organizing in that moment is I need to like close this off and just focus in. So that relationship didn't work, and totally trust it and have nothing but gratitude for that human in my life. Since then, I have been more on, I would say, the solo poly track where I haven't gotten really deeply engaged in a committed relationship again. And so I'm like, I don't know if I want a committed, more monogamous relationship or if like solo poly. So I'm open basically is where I'm at. And right now, and the reason why I wanted to come on and talk to you all about play parties specifically is over the past few years, by engaging in play party scenes, I get my needs met sexually and, connection, sensuality, play to an extent where I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything from committed partnership in that regard. And there's a way that being in community in those spaces is really nourishing and feeding me in a new way. And it's like opening some new vistas for me. And so, like, my relationship status right now, I would say is I organize play parties for a couple of different communities, some on Hawaii, some here in California. And by being the organizer, I'm kind of like in relationship with the community, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very different approach in to
Hmm.
relationship, and I love that you brought in, like, just the experience, like, having in a relationship where you realize, "Oh, shit, I wanna be monogamous with this person," and being like, "What does that mean for me? I've been, operating on this path for so long," and it's
Hmm.
testament to the fact, like, we are human, we grow, we change, things shift in life, and it's not always fun or comfortable, but to be able to acknowledge, like, "Yeah, this is a life, and this is okay." And now what? Now what do we do?
Right?
Now what do I do?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep. And so it's just an exploration and, self love, self acceptance, and continuing to tune in to where's my truth and what
yeah,
feels right for me. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
as we speak, my greatest excitement around relationship is curating and cultivating play parties.
Yeah. I love that one. I'm curious, Matt, you'd mentioned when you went, let's say in the when you caught the monogamy fever for a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm just curious, you had
Yep.
said in there that there was something that you sort of learned was you and this partner were avoiding some element of depth that you felt like engaging outside of your relationship was a distraction. I'm curious, in this move towards play parties, you said like you don't really feel like you're missing you're getting most of your needs met. I'm curious, that piece, did you feel like that has been able to get met through the play party sort of experiences?
Great. You're asking the perfect question. Yes.
I made it really long, but we got there
It was
eventually.
awesome. No, this is exactly like the avenue I wanted in. So I was saying I was starting to study secure attachment or attachment theory. So attachment theory is how humans and mammals more broadly bond. It's how we create connection and how we do connection. Part of this is we connect with our primary caregiver as small children, and we learn this system. It's like a language that we speak with our bodies and with our attention to feel connected. And then that carries forward into our adult relationships. And along the journey, we want to ideally become more secure, which means I'm able to be connected to myself. I'm connected to the love that's here, and I have capacity for connection. There's so much more I could say about secure, but going from the place of disruption or chaos or avoidance or clinging or any of those things to a place of like, okay, there might be trigger here, but I know I'm able to work through it is kind of like secure. So much of the research around attachment theory is around one-to-one connections between either a child and their primary caregiver or between two adults in a relationship. There's really like a nuclear family normative lens and a mononormative lens. So like the book Polysecure is groundbreaking because Jessica Fern took that and kind of opened it up for consensual non-monogamy folks. And you're nodding, which is great.
Yes.
Yep. And that's beautiful. So part of the journey is learning how to become secure with my sense of self. For me to self-regulate and know myself enough to be able to navigate the ups and downs of relationship and connection. But also the piece that I'm really excited to speak to is for most of human history, we did not live in a nuclear family system. That's like since the 1950s. So that's maybe like a 75-year phenomenon. Most of humans, most of the time, lived in a tribal village. And in a tribal village, from the day you're born until the day you die, you are surrounded by people who know you and you know them. And relationship is not this one-to-one bond between two people. Relationship is a web, it's a field of connection. And you're in attachment with all of these other people, as well as the place, the home, the land. So there's like this network. And humans are hardwired for attachment. We're very social creatures. And so I started to see that I could get my attachment needs met in ongoing play party communities, that I could go to these events. And I'm not like, it's not about so much for me having sex, but it's about being in an erotically open space. There's intimacy, there's connection, we're witnessing each other, we're acknowledging each other. And over time, we're working through our different pieces of growth and wounding together. And it creates a much richer network, for me anyway, of connection, of secure attachment, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, beautiful explanation of attachment theory and that
Totally.
evolution. Very succinct. And yeah, there's a lot there. So I thought that was great. And yeah, I'm so curious about this because I feel like honestly, I think there's a lot of people out there trying to figure this out too.
Yes. hmm Right. So there's not a lot of research out there. We cannot go back, most of us, to living in a village. It doesn't make sense today. And so we need like a culturally appropriate way to re-engage. Like I would say for my parents' generation, the community secure attachment piece probably mostly came through their church. Like they went to church and they were part of a congregation. So that's not part of my lived experience. And that's really falling away largely from American culture. But the thing about play parties is that not only are we gathering together around a shared experience, like any kind of a club would be, but that we're doing it by getting into our bodies and by sharing sexual connection. And attachment is a somatic experience first and foremost, meaning it happens through our bodies. It translates through our nervous system and through the limbic part of our brain. So we can think these things about how secure attachment happens, but it's really what we feel that matters. And when we're engaging in sex or erotic exchange, that is very active for us as mammals. And so play parties have this special role where we get to really directly touch the place where those bonds get created. And that's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I love too about this. And maybe for people who aren't familiar with the play party, I'll say play party scene specifically, right? And I think out here in the Bay Area, it's definitely more mature and developed than in a lot of
Mhm.
places. I mean, we grew up in the Midwest, and we've like our initial days of non-monogamy, we found ourselves at like swinging clubs and
Yep.
hotel takeovers and those types of
Mhm.
things. And I would say there was an element of community there, but it was less so. It was more like, we're here for tonight. We may never see you again. Like, we don't want to do harm necessarily, but people, I think that things got a little careless at times. That was my experience. But I think here you start to see these communities where it's like this group of people, maybe it's a community of 50 to 100 people, and you know, not all 50 or 100 come to every party, but you do get to know people. You are building connection. And
Mhm.
so when you show up to a play party, it's not a bunch of strangers. It's people you care about, but you just may not be living with them, sharing a home, sharing a family, but you are like a big family in some way.
Right. And yes, great. I so agree with you. And I've been to swinging clubs and various other events, kind of like there's a spectrum, right?
Hmm.
So just because attachment can happen in this space doesn't mean that secure attachment does. And this is part of the growing edge is learning how to weave these practices in so that we create the web that we can be held by. So part of it is sometimes at swinger clubs, there's an element of anonymity, of
Hmm.
like privacy, and you don't know each other's names. And there's also like this one off, like you go and then you may never come back. So, vulnerability, becoming available, connecting on an emotional level beyond just the physical, these are all elements of how we connect and share intimacy with each other. The other piece that you picked up on, which I totally agree with, is continuity over time. If we do, like, the way I think about it is, you know, trying to go to a retreat, like, even if it's a weekend retreat, sex party, and creating a secure bond there is like trying to create a relationship in a weekend,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, that's a lot of
Or
pressure.
right? Or like if you think about when you get a new puppy, right? Like how long does it take to actually bond with this animal and create a relationship with this animal? It doesn't happen overnight. Like the way that we bond with a puppy, that's your attachment system. That's the same thing happening. And it takes months, it takes years, and we have to go through these different phases of getting to know each other. And so a play community that happens regularly and with frequency is a key element to this equation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about it, and I think back to some of the experiences we had at different swinging clubs and parties, I think that was happening. There was, we would often walk in and be like, "Oh, all these people just met each other tonight." And I think the reality is, some of those or a lot of those people were coming back over and over, but it just really
Mhm.
wasn't talked about, and there really wasn't anybody holding the space in a way.
The container wasn't held great
Right.
at
It
all.
wasn't
That's
community focused.
yeah.
It was,
Yeah,
"Hey,
totally.
thanks, a little bit of thanks for your money. Welcome to the club. Hope you find some people to have fun with, and hope you come back another time." Right? There was no like, "Let's show you around. Hey, these people know these people. Like, let's get you held in this space."
Mhm,
There wasn't a lot of that. But I think it was happening, just people kind of figured it out. They're like, "Well, if I just keep coming to this club
mm,
for long
mhm,
enough, I'll see some of the same people and maybe we'll make
mhm.
friends."
Community happened, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so also not to say that there's anything wrong with that type of club, it's just that type
Totally.
of an experience,
Yep,
right?
Right.
yep, yep.
Yep,
It just didn't work for me as
mhm,
well, I'll say. Yeah.
and so what we're doing here, like, our conversation today is, like, if we want to go deeper, and if we
Mhm.
want to create a richer, fuller human experience, like, let's use these tools. So, I was sharing with you guys, I facilitated a play party last night. So this is
Yes.
like perfect timing, and it was so fun. And one of the things that I love to do that I've learned over time with these is I ask people to stay to the closing circle. Like, do your best. If you have to leave, you can leave, but try to stay. And we're going to close together. And in the closing circle, we get into small groups, like groups of 4, and we acknowledge each other. We say, what did I see in you? And we take 5 minutes for this person and we go around the group. And each person can appreciate and share gratitude. And what did I see? Or what was I wowed by? Or what was I curious about in this person? And so we've been in this kind of like open mixer space where things are happening and some of them are wild and some of them are challenging, and it can be kind of an overwhelming emotional roller coaster. Or it can be like the best thing that ever happened. But then we get to come together and have like a space to communicate back and start to integrate what that was, to not do it alone, but to do it together.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it gets back to the container setting, right?
Right.
Like you're curating the space for people to be vulnerable and to
Mhm.
receive as well, which is like, and give each other. It's just that it's challenging
Yeah, it's
and
scary,
also
it's
beautiful.
hard,
Yeah.
right? And people cry, and people laugh, so, like, as the facilitator, I, like, set the space, and I give the prompts, and I set people up, and then I'm sitting and I'm watching as people are sharing in these circles, and people get lit up, and they're so excited, and I'm like, "Yes, this is it. This is what it's about." Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, like, the closing circles are, like, my favorite part of play parties, hands down.
Yeah. No, I love that. It makes me think just again back to some of I'm going to bring in our old swinging vibes again. Just and
Mhm.
I did want to say too, like, yeah, there's nothing necessarily wrong with those spaces. I think it was a learning over time that those were not my like. I need more
Sure.
time. I need more connection. And but there are some people who like they love that piece. They love the anonymity. Like I'm going to show up to this club. I'm going to do my thing, and I'll never see these people again, and that's perfect. And
Right.
and that's great. But I think in like talking about the way you described your closing circle, it gives us moment to also to like learn what was going on for other people in those moments, because sometimes it can be really easy to be at these parties, again for myself here, and look around and be like, oh, that person's got it all figured out. They're so cool. They've got their shit together. They're almost like, oh, maybe they're too good for this. And then you talk later and they're like, I was terrified. I was afraid to talk to anybody. Like, oh, I had everything wrong about you. And so, like these moments, I think are the like you. It's like pulling the mask off at the end of the Scooby Doo episode and being like, "Oh, that's really who's under there. Is this a person who was afraid to talk to people, and they were sitting by themselves for that reason, not because they felt they were better or whatever stories we have going on."
Yes, completely. And so I want to like continue to share a little piece of my history here. In 2020, I moved to Kauai from
Okay.
the Bay Area, and I lived on Kauai for about 4.5 years. I went to Big Island for a little bit, but I was mostly on Kauai. And when I moved there, there was very little of this type of scene, sex positive community there. And it was nice for me to take a little break for a bit, but then I was like, actually, this is the type of community that I want to live in. I want to be a part of. Kauai has 70,000 residents. It's like a small town. They get lots of visitors, but like the people who live there, it's like a small, tight knit community. So I started leading snuggle events. And there's a woman who still lives there who is doing these like kind of sexy dance events. And we were both kind of had like the same mindset of like, we want to create more community here. And as I was doing these snuggle events, it would be like, we'd have cacao, we'd snuggle, and people would call me ahead of time, freaking out about the relationship agreements and what's going to happen in the space. So it really started from scratch. And there was like not a lot of social fabric already developed. And I got connected, a dear sister of mine named Ashley Jones. She and I eventually grew it to the point where we started leading play parties there. And what we learned is in basically a small town, the continuity is there, but the continuity is everywhere. You can't get away from these people. So, like, we'd have this thing, and then we'd see them at dance the next day, and then we'd see them at the grocery store the next day, and then we'd see them, some people have kids. You'd see the other people's kids, right? So, like, how do we navigate having this be a part of our life in an ongoing way where we're like in with each other? And so that's been another big learning, is like how to bring this into community. But what I've seen, I'm talking for a while here, but I just get passionate. What we
Continue.
learned,
It's good.
yeah, great. What we learned was like this, having this experience, a place where people can explore their sexuality and not be in the closet, whatever that means, but be out in a safe place where it's contained. So what we found was that the community just gels. It came together so beautifully, and having the space where our sexuality could be included in the community just took us to such a deeper level as a group. And so now when we see each other at ecstatic dance or some other thing, there's this level of connection that's here that other people who aren't part of the scene, like, they're noticed, like there's something different about these people. And so, like, going through growing it from scratch and seeing it develop over a number of years into, it's like a thriving community today where I'm not even there. They're throwing parties without me, and I love it. Um, and it's like, this is how humans should be humaning. We should be doing this. And it's really, really good. So this is my passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm curious how you, for your communities and for your events, how do you then also create, I would say, maybe openings in space, right, for new people to come into that? Because that, again, that can be
Mhm.
you walk into,
Intimidating.
it's intimidating, right? You look around and be like, wow, these people are connected on a level that like I'll maybe never get to. How do I even think about like dipping into this?
Right. So it's a really important topic. We discovered, first off, that if you just have the same 30 people, things get stagnant. You need to bring in fresh people to mix it up. So on Kauai, what we did is we bridged over to the Maui tribe, and then we bridged a little bit over to the Big Island tribe. And so Maui would throw an event and we'd fly in, or we'd throw an event and the Maui folks would fly over. And just having a little bit of mixing it up was like a breath of fresh air. It was so nice. So like having new people, and also like people from the Bay would fly over, but creating an avenue for new people to come in and experience this is crucial for how these events go. And then learning how to welcome them is really important, because things can get clicky and people find their polycule or whatever, and they just jump into that. And it can be, if you've never been to a play party, it can be terrifying. It can be overwhelming. It can feel, like you said, like everybody knows what's happening and I'm all alone, even though I'm surrounded by people, and what am I doing wrong? And I'm up in my head. So all of that. And so like for the events that I throw, we create a group chat ahead of time. And everybody who's in the event is on the group chat, and everybody does introductions. And then we talk through how to set intentions for this type of an experience. And so we try to like give a runway in. The other thing is, we're not just taking random people off the street. It's all like someone who's in the community wants to bring somebody else in. And so there's a point of connection and like sponsorship, maybe, that really, really matters. And then, honestly, it's an attitude of the people who are in the community to be open and to welcome new people and to recognize that clicks can happen, but that's not in service to what we're trying to create.
Yeah. No, I love that. The one of the core values of the community has to be, we want this community to expand and grow. And it's not just, okay, we've got our 20 people, like let's build the walls as thick as we can and shut out the
Right.
world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hard, right? Because then you're also saying, I'm welcoming in new energy, new people, new dynamics, new challenges, versus like sometimes you can, I don't know, you get to a place sometimes in life where you're like, this feels really great. I don't want this to ever change. So like, don't fuck with my shit. And then
But
like, so
how long does that
yeah,
last?
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the challenge of welcoming new people in, but then also in ongoing play communities, there's the challenge of breakups and relationship changes and all of that. And also, honestly, consent violations, or people get triggered by other people, and working through those. And for me, like, there's my personal growth that happens in a play space where I get to work my edge of speaking my desires or not knowing who I'm going to connect with or whatever my edges are. Really, really rich terrain. But then for a community, the growth is, how can a community handle the change of relationship status, the rupture and repair process with a level of continuity. And it requires work from the organizers and from the people who are in the community to be willing to show up and have uncomfortable conversations. If I go through a breakup, I may not want to be at a party where my ex is there hooking up with other people. Like, that may not feel safe for me, or it might be super triggering for me. And so we have to learn how to navigate this as a group.
Yeah.
And I guess, do you have
in 2 minutes answer the question?
No. Do you have, I guess, high level recommendations too for navigating that?
So yes, I do. One high level recommendation is to have like a potluck, which is not sexy, where people can come and they can talk and meet each other outside of like the possibility of hooking up with each other, to just be on like a more like, regular social level. I don't know, regular is not the right word, but like, platonic social level.
Yeah, a non-sex forward social level.
Totally. And so having like a regular potluck or a meetup or something like that gives it the space for people to get to know each other more and to process through the littler things that come up. And when that gets rolling, there's also an opportunity to bring like a little mini workshop or a topic. So like nonviolent communication is great for these types of spaces. And the more people who have it, the stronger the whole fabric gets. And then the other thing, which seems to be really key, is some people in the community who are therapists or mediators or trained at some type of conflict resolution, who people know that they can go to get support, helps. Because if you try to find a mediator out in the regular world to talk about your play party community and your polycule, you may have to do a lot of education for that person to even understand the context of what's going on here. So having someone in the community who kind of understands how to navigate this process is immensely helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, I appreciate that, Matt. And I love the passion that you bring to this. And it, as you kind of talked through the shift that you've kind of went through around the 2021 era of realizing that you could sort of get a lot of your relational needs met through this play party scene and through these communities. Like I can just imagine the like fervor of like I want to like put my energy here. Like in some ways I see it no different than like new relationship energy when you meet the one and you're like, I'm all in on this person and the world falls away. And I see a little bit of that around like, I'm all in on how do I make these play parties and these play communities sustainable, healthy, caring for each other and thriving.
Yep, exactly. Totally. And it only recently dawned on me that this is like potentially a different relationship status or orientation that I could hold.
Yep.
But what happens is, on the Kauai side, because it's like a small town, we've been growing it for a number of years now. When I organize an event there, beforehand, I hear everybody's relationship stuff. Like as one of the organizers, it just comes to me and then I'm like embedded in it. And the last one that I was doing, not the last one, a couple of a few ago, like last year, I was like, I'm like not dating anybody in this scene, but it feels like I'm dating everybody in this scene. And it feels like my relationship status is this community. It was like, whoa, weird. But yeah, it's like how it actually feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that feeling.
You get it.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Our community. So we people listening who've listened to the show before know we have a community. A lot of the people listening probably are in the community. And there was a moment earlier this year where I looked at Emma and I was like, wait a minute. I'm in like a 300 person polycule with all of these people. And at that moment, I'm like, oh shit, I got to differentiate a little bit. Like I was enmeshed with damn near 300 people. And it was a wild realization and I'm still figuring out what to do with it. But I'm like, it was a thing that like hit me. Yeah. And when you said it, I was like, yep.
Right. That's very affirming and relieving for me to hear that you have had this experience also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Currently having it. So yeah, it's been
Right. Totally.
it's
Yep.
enlightening to talk.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and it's interesting because I look in, and I think about it, I'm like, well, none of them really asked, right? It wasn't, nobody came to you and said, be the manager of my relationships, but like it just slowly happens. I mean, it's honestly no different than being in we'll say a one-on-one partnership where like the
Yeah.
patterns just emerge and you fall
Mhm.
into your
I
rhythm and
think
your
it's
groove.
honestly just a
Human.
natural human
Yeah.
tendency
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Huh. Wild. Well, it was helpful to hear you say it. So thank you, Matt.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's super helpful for me too. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have one question for anyone listening. Well, I guess it's a two-part question. For anyone listening who's like, okay, play parties, great. I want to check this out. First of all, I know you threw one last night and you talked about the closing circle. I was curious if you kind of how you open them and a little bit
Mhm.
around that. And also, again, if somebody's listening that's like, where do I even start? Like maybe they're brand new into all of this.
Where they live deep in the middle of nowhere in rural
Right.
rural America or beyond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So how we open is we get everybody in one room together. And we welcome everybody and we give folks a little prompt to share with each other just to kind of land, because usually there's a lot of nerves or anxiety present for people, and it's totally normal. And once we kind of get landed and grounded, then we do our container agreements. So the agreements are confidentiality. What happens here stays here. You don't out each other in public. Confidentiality, consent. We always talk about consent. And the way that we talk about consent is, number one, we want this to be a full yes for everybody all the way through. And you can change your mind at any time, but like that's the goal. That's what we're working towards. If you have a maybe, that's an opportunity to slow down and get more information. And then the no is so welcome and actually crucial to how this functions. We're counting on each individual to be able to say no, even if it might be uncomfortable or the other person might be hurt. So we go through consent. We talk about other agreements, like there's some etiquette for the space around safer sex supplies. And oftentimes there's like a sex zone, and then there's like a less sexy zone where people can have just conversation or maybe snuggle. So we just talk through the space and the agreements. I love doing sober play parties, but if there are substances involved, we'll talk about those and how we navigate those. And then there's etiquette for how to engage in the space. Like if there's a group of people playing, are you allowed to witness? And what level of witnessing is, how do we do that here? Like there's standing across from the room and taking it in, but then there's like getting right up in people's faces and watching. And so there can be some impact with witnessing. And then how do you enter a scene if some people are playing and you'd like to join in? How do you navigate that? And it turns out you really need everybody to say yes to you coming in. It's not just enough to have one person on the side be like, "Hey, Matt, come jump in," right? So we talk through like all of these different cases so that we're all on the same page around what's happening in the space. Container agreements. And then we do like some icebreaker opening exercises. So I'll share. It was brand new to me. Apparently, this came from Tamara, which is a sex positive community in Portugal. There's this game that they play where you mill around the room and you stand in front of somebody and you take this person in and then you close your eyes and you each throw up some number of fingers for how do I want to engage with this person. And then you open your eyes and you see which fingers you each have put out. So one finger is I don't want to engage. Two fingers is I want to hug. Three fingers is let's share a kiss on the cheek. Four fingers is let's share a smooch. And five fingers is let's have a quick makeout. So if we both open our eyes and we both have five fingers open, then we get to like make out with each other really quick right there. But if I throw a five and you throw a two, then we're going to go for the lowest common denominator and we're going to share a hug. Right. So this is like, I've done so many different like types of these things, but having an icebreaker where you're welcoming in desires, you're giving people an opportunity to have like little micro connections with each other and start to like build a little bit of excitement. But you're also practicing navigating like the yeses and the nos and the maybes, and how do we find that place where we're mutually aligned. So the icebreaker is super important, and then we get to open it up and have fun.
Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for walking through that. I think just for
Totally.
anybody that hasn't been to that type of environment, it's helpful to set the stage a
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great question. Hmm.
Yeah.
And if recommendations if people want to jump in, how to do that.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, find other folks, and sometimes these are quite underground or quite hidden, so it can be challenging, but um open relationship forums are a great place to just ask. The more adjacent things, like at a swinger party, if you talk to other people about what other events might be happening, you might hear about a community. Ecstatic dance adjacent communities, you know. But basically, you kind of need to find your way in, and word of mouth is the best way to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would throw too, what I just harkening back to your sort of beginnings was like I didn't necessarily find it, so I created it.
Hmm.
And that is also another great option, right? I mean, we met so many people when we would go to swinging parties that we'd be sitting there being like, this isn't really us. And they're like, yeah, this isn't really us. But like, well, here we are. It's the best. We've rounded it up. It's the best we got tonight. And like, those are like, I look back, I'm like, those are the people to be like, okay, well,
Right.
you don't love
Exactly.
this. We don't love this. What can we do different? How can we make something better? And maybe it's two people, then four people, then six people. Like, you don't need to start with 100 or even 10, right? Just creating a space that feels good to you.
Completely agree. Totally. And it's super empowering to get to do that. And,
Yeah.
you said you have a community of 300 folks. Like, I imagine this is how you ended up here where you are today. It's a similar process.
Yep. Yep. It's a very similar process.
Yeah.
And one day you wake up and you're like, oh boy, look at this.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Totally. Yep.
So I
Yeah.
love it. Well, this has been just really great, Matt. It's been wonderful to hear, your a bit of your story woven into just
Yeah.
how it's informed your work, but it almost feels like less work, more passion. And
Hmm.
that's not to say you don't get paid for your passion here, but like it really feels like it's a core of how you relate and who you are.
Thank you. I feel that way too. And it's such a pleasure to get to come on and share with you and get to know you two a little bit more too. I'm excited for more and get to
Yeah.
find the overlap and the shared experience. Like, it feels great. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Before we let you go today, is there anything else that you wanted to get out there?
Also an opportunity to share some where people can find
Yes,
your work because
exactly.
you've got a lot
Yes.
going on.
Yeah. So the best place to find all the things that I'm up to is mattsturm.com, mattsturm.com. And I post most of the things there. I have 2 books on the topic of masculinity called The Organic Masculine is the first one, and then Primal Drives is the second one. And then this summer, I published a tarot deck, like the
Mhm.
Oracle deck of cards, and that's called Living Cosmos. And so those are like my published works out there in the world. I do regular events and teach at different festivals and things. So I also have a newsletter as a great way to stay up with me. One of the really exciting things in my personal life, like a personal share right now, is I just enrolled in a PhD program in human sexuality, which
Yay.
starts tomorrow,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
wild.
Well, it's a big
So,
day.
it's a big day. And so this is like um, a thing I'm excited to get to deepen my skill set around all of these things and to bring in just like bring more in, but also to take what I've learned and bring it out into the world more. So I'm at the beginning of this next big chapter of a 5 to 7 year PhD training. Um, and I'm excited to use that as an opportunity really to share more. So that's me, and that's where my focus is and what I'm up to.
Cool.
Love it. Well, links to your website and your work will be in the show notes, so people didn't have to scramble to write that down. And sorry, now your question about anything else you want to share.
Yeah, I guess anything else that you would like to share.
I feel pretty complete, actually. I think this is good.
Wonderful.
Yes.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
Started at the kink.com armory and
covered men's
and
groups,
here we are.
covered non-monogamy, covered play parties, lots of different things. Yeah. Thank you so much for reaching out and coming on, Matt, and just for everything you shared and for all of the work that you're doing out there too. And just thank you for your time.
Yeah. Pleasure to connect. More soon, I hope.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, we'll see hopefully at Soul Play next year.
Totally. Yeah. I'm in deep with them. So yeah.
Love it. All right, Matt, we'll have a fantastic day. Good luck at your first day of school tomorrow.
Yes.
And wishing you all the best on that journey.
All right. Take care, Finn and Emma.
Bye.
Bye.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on, sharing your story, and for that lovely conversation. We're excited to send people your way.
Yeah, and thank you from my side as well. And thank you for all the incredible work you're doing and all of the community building. It's just fantastic. So thank you from my side as well.
And we wanted to remind everyone about a couple of upcoming dates here in the outro. The first up is tomorrow. That's November 13th. Our next monthly virtual community workshop is How to Choose a Pleasure-Based Life with Crystal Baldwin. You can join the community over on the community tab of our website and join us for that event. And also you get a recording as well. So if you missed the live event, you can come back and watch the recording. Next up, we have our virtual speed friending event coming up November 21st. That is next Friday. These are open to anyone. You just must be open-minded and respectful, and you can sign up on our website.
And the last thing is Relationship Recess, which is our next big in-person event that's coming up May 1st to the 3rd, 2026. Tickets are on sale now. Links are all over our website and in the show notes. You can't miss it, we promise. And just a reminder, the virtual speed friending and Relationship Recess are open to anybody. You do not need to be part of our community. And the Pleasure-Based Life workshop is for our community members, but don't worry, it takes just a few minutes to apply and it's less than $8 a month, and you get access to that workshop, plus the recording of the workshop, plus recordings from all of our previous workshops as well.
And a lot of other amazing things too.
Yeah, totally, obviously. You don't want to miss it. So get in there. We'd love to have you join us.
And next week, surprise, surprise, we have another interview. This time it's with Nicole. You're going to want to come back and listen.
Oh, it's also got a surprise treat.
It does.
We have a new segment we've introduced starting next week, sort of.
It's going to officially kick off in January, but next week is a teaser.
This is like the teaser to the teaser. This is the foreplay. Foreplay.
Yeah, way to really tease it out.
Really, really teasing it out for anybody who's still here.
Is that it?
That's it. That's all we got. We'll see you next week for our conversation with Nicole.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.